T.S. Eliot's remarkable poem, The Magi's Journey, depicts a very difficult landscape through which the wise men had to go. As you read it, it becomes clear that he is speaking of two landscapes, one outer and the other inner. Eliot takes us out of the comfort of a warm nativity circle into the harsh world where the manifestation of cosmic light presents them with a profound question. Were we led all the way for birth or death? There was a birth, certainly. We had evidence and no doubt. I had seen birth and death, but had thought they were different. This birth was hard and bitter agony for us. Like death, our death, we return to our places in these kingdoms, but no longer at ease there. The old dispensation with an alien people clutching their gods. I should be glad of another death. Now, Eliot points out that the aftermath of birth is death, and that birth's death is the threshold through which new life is, in fact, lived out. The old dispensation with an alien people clutching their old gods would not do. Birth had displaced them. The Southern Cross, Hawker's poem, says this: 3 ancient men in Bethlehem's cave with awful wonder stand. A voice had called them from their grave in some far eastern land. And his last verse goes this way: then slow the patriarchs turned and trod, and this their parting sigh: our eyes have seen the living God, and now once more to die. Both poems speak of birth and death. Both understand that Epiphany is a transformative experience. To see the living God in the midst of our human existence means that we are being propelled into a journey of personal and communal transformation. It is both birth and death. Near the end of his life, Frank Lloyd Wright said this to a special selected group of young architects. As young architects, you are to be the pattern givers of civilization. You must be the way showers. As a stream cannot rise no higher than its source, you can raise no better architecture than you are. So why not go to work upon yourselves and become what you would have your buildings be? Epiphany light sears into our corroded self, burns deep into our ego, and drives us toward a transforming self-knowledge. At first, we will see only the superficial, but if we persist, we will come to see our true self bathed in the light of a sacred source. This is the knowledge that transcends and grounds us. We begin to travel the unknown in which we are reborn in death. What I mean by death is a death to habitual ways of thinking, habitual ways of feeling that have held us in a form of spiritual deadlock. What I mean is that as we are reborn within, we discover a complementary rebirth outside of us. We are no longer at home in a land of alienation, clutching old gods, and have held our spiritual imagination captive. Kneeling in Bethlehem's cave, laying their gifts before Christ child, they discovered love incarnate in their own flesh. Love with us as mentor to their spirits. Only love has the power to dissolve negative past formation with its regrets, guilt, deep anxieties, and anger. Only love is able to liberate our hidden strengths and abilities held hostage to our shadow self. Only love can break the emotional gridlock that continually returns us to a broken state. Only the unconditional love reflected in Jesus' faith can save us from ourselves, and it shows us how to love ourselves, to love others, and to embrace being itself. In the 2nd century, Ptolemy created a map that started with Spain's Portugal and ended with China in the east. Marco Polo extended the end point to Japan. The map bottomed out at the equator, and for almost 1,300 years, Europe became stuck within a finite space, which they believed to be the center of an Earth-centered universe. Ptolemy's map set boundaries that moored Western civilization to concepts that were way off base. Now let's roll our minds forward to the 15th century. Columbus, well, for the Europeans, discovered the New World. Magellan and Diaz broke the equatorial barrier to the south, and Copernicus published his thesis of a round Earth revolving around the sun. This trinity of events blew open the imagination gridlock of Europe. An era of unprecedented invention and discovery ensued. The late Dr. Edwin Friedman uses this image of Europe before Columbus and Copernicus as an image of our state today. So much of our lives seem to be defined by gridlock. Each of us has Ptolemy maps that compress our vision and emotionally limit our natural strengths and imaginative abilities. Friedman said that the signs are usually the same. We keep trying to solve old questions with new answers rather than changing the basic question. We become trapped in polarization that harden into conflict between extremes so that no one can imagine the infinite range of possibilities in between. I think about Friedman's reference to the persistence of form. More and more, it seems that institutions contain within their very DNA a predisposition that persists in returning them to their original form. Most institutions in our civilization are facing the same systemic problems, and they tend to respond with the same kinds of solutions. I won't talk about water main breaks or anything like that. But Epiphany drives us to look deep into our personal and corporate lives, to understand the stuck modes of thinking and acting that return us from the brink of transformation to our old dysfunction. The light of Epiphany brings our issues into stark relief and also reveals the pathological preoccupation beyond the methods we use to deal with our issues. But rather than focusing on our weaknesses and disease, love's light seeks to center us in our inherent strength and potential that can overcome the effects of our disease in an old dispensation. It is sacred love that helps us journey to the apex of God's light. Come, said the wind with icy breath. Come, draw near. You touch, you see the pivot of the galaxy, the fire that kindles the sun's core, God's and our Epiphany. Thanks be to God.